Hello, my name is Andrew Kleopfer, and tonight I sat down with the cast of the H2G Podcast, where we discussed their origin story and celebrated the 1-year anniversary of the podcast. So Tony, what brought you to the H2G podcast?
Oh, wow, Andrew, that's a good question. We all started this friendship and this journey back in probably 2011, 2010, where we started working at Wright State radio station. And, we were just doing what we had to do, for our majors, and, we fell in love. Mostly for me, I fell in love with, broadcasting and radio.
One of the coolest things I fell in love about Michael Jackson was he makes the beats himself before the beats. And that is awesome. He goes, you know what? I was just sitting down and, I just had like this. And like, he was just like, and I want it to be like that, and then I want it to come in. I want to and then I was just like, it was Billie Jean. I was like, it was born right there. And I saw that in a documentary. He said that, and he did it. You can look it up on YouTube.
That's crazy.
Beatboxing. So when Justin said, last April in 2020 of all times, hey, do you want to get back together and do a podcast? And I said, abso-freaking-lutely. Let's get this thing going. And the whole mindset was to entertain people when we were going through what we were going through in 2020. So it was just more about picking people up and giving them something, a variety show that could, make them smile, make them laugh, during that time. So hopefully that answered your question.
Hey, Richie, how you doing?
Doing good, Andrew. How are you, man?
I am very well. A little bit tired from work, but I'm sure you understand that as well.
Yeah, I just got off work, man. So on the same page.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your backstory, like how you came to be on the H2G podcast and what happened.
Okay, sure. So the H2G podcast, let's just start with the genesis of how we met, all of us. So a lot of the guys, the origin story. So there's Tony Beach as Justin Duvall, as you know, Justo, Marvin Scott, and then myself, Richie. What happened was Tony, and this is actually, Tony might not know the exact details, but I was actually trying to flirt with one of the girls in our class. Ooh. And Tony walks up to me and interrupts me. And is just like, hey, man, because I had told everyone in class that we had to introduce ourselves, that I was like a stand-up performer. And I think Tony was sitting on that for a couple weeks. And then he walked up to me while I'm flirting with this girl. And he told me, hey, man, I'd really love for you to come on my radio show, and talk about stand-up comedy. And Tony was super interested in it at the time. Yeah. So I jumped on there and I met Justin. And then I also met Marvin as well through Justin's show. And then basically we cheated the system at WSU, was our college that we went to. And you're only supposed to have one show, but since everybody had a show, we just went on everyone's show. So we had a whole bunch of TV and things like that for our show. That's awesome. Then anyways, essentially Justin hit us up a year ago and was just like, y'all want to do the show in a podcast? And it was during the pandemic. And we were like, yeah, why not? Within 3 minutes. And for some of us, we had messaged, I hadn't spoken to Justin in almost 7 years, 8 years, 9, something like that. It'd been a long time. So It was just really funny how quickly we were all like, yeah, let's do it within 2 minutes of each other. So.
All right, Marvin. So take me back to the beginning of the H2G podcast. What brought you there, my friend?
Oh, man. Well, it was kind of a shock to hear from Justin. I haven't heard from him in so many years when he reached out. And then the other guys, he reached out to them too. And so when they all got the chat going on Facebook, we were all talking about it. I didn't really think that we were going to, do it right away. I thought it was something, you talk about, guys get together, talk about doing stuff, and it never really happens. At first, I thought it was going to be one of those things. I was like, okay, well, all of us are kind of busy. I know Justin's busy, Richie's busy, Tony is, but like, it was amazing that we hadn't seen each other since 2011. And I'm like, damn, 7 years go by. I'm like, time flies, but you really start to think, I'm like, okay, like, I'm on board with this. Let's do this. Let's see what we can do with a podcast. And, we were just, trying it out, and, here we are, H2G Podcast. And, you look up a year later and it's like, man, we really have got back to where we used to be. We have picked up right where we left off.
All right, fellas, I've kept it a secret long enough. We have a special guest joining us for the rest of the show. This person has been on the show before. This person is a competitor. This person is funny. Richie thought he was going to get some more time off without this person. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Miss Christy.
What? She's back. I'm like the Rona. You can't get rid of me.
Oh my God, she's back.
So, Christy, viewers will know that you joined in season 2 of the H2G podcast. Take us back on your journey a little bit about how you got involved and how far back you are a part of the show.
Hey, I actually started listening at the original.
Ooh.
What was it even called? Beach Bash, maybe? So Tony's my brother-in-law.
Awesome.
So his very pretty wife is like, I'm part of that lineage. Can't tell, but nailed it. So I listened to them when I was actually in Lima and they were in Wright State in Dayton. Sheesh. Locations and schools are difficult. I'm super awkward if you can't tell, so we're just gonna nail this interview.
We love it. That's awesome. And so, like, how did Justo come to you, or were you like, I want to be in on this, or?
I think I just came in on as a guest for like 2 episodes, and then I just kept coming back, so couldn't really get rid of me. Yeah. I'm like herpes.
Oh, wonderful. Everybody has them, and it's
it keeps on giving.
Exactly. You can give it to anybody. So sorry.
Speaking of being back, my good friend, my cat enthusiast, my cat mom, my friend since 2nd grade is back. So I'm really excited about that, just as much as I am H2G being back. But I'm good. 2021 is getting off to a little bit of a rocky start. We'll get to that later on in the show. But back to the cat mom herself, Miss Chelsea. It's great to have you back. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm really excited to be back. For those who don't know, Marvin and I were on a radio show at the college that we went to for a number of years, which was a lot of fun. So when you reached out about this opportunity, I was like, that sounds fantastic. Yeah, represent.
Well, hello, Chelsea. Thank you for being on.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So why don't you go ahead and tell us, you joined the H2G podcast in season 4. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your origin story and how you came about?
Yeah, so it really all started. So as you probably know, all of us went to Wright State. I actually did a radio show with Marvin, who's currently on the podcast, and another friend of ours that we call Taco. It's actually Nick, but anybody who knows him calls him Taco. And we had a show called The Perspective on WWSU 106.9. And we did that, I think at like 6 p.m. on Saturdays or something like that. We had a great time. Always enjoyed talking. And I was catching up with Marvin one day and he's like, hey, you should totally come on our podcast. It'll be kind of like similar to the radio station vibes and it'll be a lot of fun. And I was like, sure, why not? So I hopped on and did basically like a trial thing for the week. And they were like, hey, why don't you stay on the podcast? We really like what you bring to the show. So I ended up staying on and it was a lot of fun. So I've stuck around.
Well, hello, Justin. How are you, my friend?
Hello, my friend. Thank you for doing all this for us, all this craziness.
Oh, absolutely. I've loved everyone that's been on so far. And Now we are talking to the father of the H2G podcast.
Oh, no.
One of the founding fathers.
I'll take that one. Yeah.
So Justin, tell us the origin story of how H2G came to life, kind of some of your earliest thoughts, and how it all transpired.
Man, so that actually goes back to like 2010, 2011. I think in 2010, I was at Wright State University, and I had previously done some sports casting, so I sought out their radio station to kind of like expand on that and learn some more. I was a communications major, and so in order to be a part of it, you had to shadow somebody. And Tony Ray had a show called The Beach Bash. And out of all the shows, I thought that was the one I wanted to be a part of. And I kind of learned radio as a radio baby with Tony and Richie, and Darcy, and there was some others. If they're watching this, hopefully I'll leave you out. But eventually that kind of evolved into me having my own show. Marvin was a good friend of mine. He was around and had an incredible voice. He was on the Beach Bash as a guest, and then got his own show. And then eventually, as a team, Tony, Richie, Marvin, and I were on 3 times a week. We cheated the system. And the show was born. And time kind of put we all went our separate ways with college. We were still friends, but had our own things. And then COVID happened, and I'm stuck at home. You and I were actually involved in a production that got canceled.
That's right.
And I was just feeling the blues. And one night I kind of got on Facebook and I said, would anybody listen if I did a podcast? Because I had this passion for radio, and it's not hard to come by the equipment to do so these days. Much easier than it was back in the day. I would have loved to have a radio station back then, but it required so much more. And within hours, all 3 of these guys, Marvin, Tony, and Richie, were in my comments like, let's do it.
It's time for the Just Those Best podcast. And here are your hosts, Marvin, Tony, Richie, and Justo.
All right, welcome to the Just Those Best podcast. It has been a long time, listeners. I am here today with 3 of my very good friends, Richie Phillips, Tony Beach, aka DJ Tony Ray, and Marvin Scott. What's going on, guys?
What's happening?
What's happening, Justo?
Good to be back. Good to see you guys. How you been?
Great, man. I mean, it's been 9 years since I've seen you guys' faces. It is great to be reunited. I've been living in New York City.
That's so cool that the chemistry came back after all that time. I admire that so much as a group.
Yeah, no, it felt like we hadn't missed any time. Honestly, it really did. There was the first, and if you'll watch the H2G podcast, the first couple episodes in the first season, you could kind of see we were kind of unsure when somebody was done. But now it's a lot more consistent and smooth, and it's like we never left. So.
Well, I mean, like any show, the first couple episodes are a little you have to get by them, and then then you have to find your groove.
For sure.
What separates the H2G podcast? Because there's so many podcasts out there, like myself included, we're all trying to be unique out there. What's making the H2G podcast so unique?
I think that what makes us so unique, Andrew, is that we keep a positive message going, through each segment. We always try to keep it positive, and we always try to bounce off each other's ideas, what we went through the week, what news we read about, and we're always implementing that into the show. And I think we're always coming up with a variety every week on how we present it. It always doesn't have to be so dry as it's read, in the news.
Right.
But I think what really separates us from the pack is we just have found that balance between entertaining our audience and really keeping it real with our audience, really informing them, really trying to reach out to them and actually help. And you've got a lot of podcasts like that, but I think that when you add, when you have minds of, you know, Richie, you know, Chelsea, Christy, Tony. Like that's pretty powerful, you know, on a weekly basis, you know, because they all have strong opinions and all have strong perspectives on many different aspects of life. And I think that's what separates us from a lot of different podcasts, is that we just everybody brings it.
Yeah, and with so many different backgrounds and ideas, that to me, that's way more interesting than a bunch of people who are like, yeah, we got one solid idea, you know, we all think the same, we all look the same, you know. Right. So I think it's really, really, that's what I enjoy the most, is the bond that you all have, but all the different backgrounds and perspectives, like you said.
What separates it for me is the camaraderie. It's not agenda focused. We're not trying to put a show together to say, oh, how are we going to get more viewers? Are we going to talk about sex more? Are we going to have girls on and they have their cleavage hanging out? Are we going to talk about politics every single week? Now, you know, we've talked about stuff, but you know, it's not trying to persuade Andrew to come to this side or that side, or it's not driven that way. So I'm not saying all podcasts are like that. I'm just saying, you know, for us, I think it's very important that we're trying to have fun. We're trying to, you know, bring light some things, but not to just, you know, fire hose it down your throat, you know, where you just are like, wow, like are they trying to force that on us? So, you know, for me, I like the fact that we all are basically family, and, you know, we call each other out if we have to call each other out, but mostly we're there to support one another. So for me, that's what makes this podcast different.
Of course. And speaking to your origin story, like back when I asked you, like, how did this all start at the beginning? You guys have been together for so long. I mean, I can't even imagine the bond that you all have together, good and sometimes bad, I'm sure.
Oh,
yeah, like I said.
Absolutely. You know, Justin picked me to, you know, shadow. We didn't know each other at all. I never heard of Justin Duvall. Justin Duvall never heard of Tony Ray, Tony Beach. You know, we were just you know, separate on our own avenues, on our own paths. And he picked my show, and I'm thinking, I'm like, you know, why did he pick my show? Who is this guy? And then because we didn't know each other, we had to grow with each other, you know, and so you have to do the things that a lot of people normally don't do. And what I mean by that is you have to figure out, well, what's this cat all about? Like, what is he like? What doesn't he like? You know, how does he want the show to run? How doesn't he want the show to run? Even though he's shadowing me, I want it to be fun for him, so it could be a good experience. Because if I just do Tony on the show, then he's just going to learn, you know, that I'm selfish and that it's Tony. Rather, I was trying to build something where we both could do something together, where he could learn that process as well. And you see that with the podcast. You got so many different personalities that are coming together with Chelsea and Christy and Richie and Marvin and, you know, Justin and myself. And you just have so many different attributes brought to the table that it, you know, you have the good times, you have the bad times, but there's more good than bad. I've never actually had a bad experience on the podcast.
Yeah. So, that's awesome.
It was like we had just left the studio yesterday or something. I don't know. I mean, the camaraderie amongst this family is insane. And now we're 6 strong with Chelsea Burns and Christina Jane joining the family. And I mean, they squeezed right in and fit right in. And we've got some temporary in and out hosts where we had Alex Sedlak for a little while. You know, it's just, it's crazy what it's become. We're video and audio now. We were just audio before. So long journey.
And you know what? Isn't that crazy how like life can just pick up and then like all of a sudden you guys are right back. It just like doesn't seem like time like even happened. You know, you're back at it. I love friendships like that.
Measurement of true friendship. Absolutely.
Exactly. Like where you can just pick up the phone again and it's like you never left. Looking back over this past year, what would you say is like one of your most fondest memories of the H2G podcast, or one of your favorite moments? You don't have to rank it or anything, but
honestly, I think one of the things that really sold me on it, it was my first week, and it was the game that Christy planned where we had to use animal noises to sing songs. And like stuff like that, like goofy, ridiculous things. It's just right up my alley. I actually ended up using that game with my coworkers at work. And it was, there were people laughing so hard they were crying. Like they were buckled over, tears streaming down their face. It was so hilarious. And I was like, yeah, this is my kind of people. So let's do this.
That's awesome.
So this is like The Voice, but with animal noises.
Yeah. And none of you are professional singers, so it's great.
Right.
All right. Are you ready, Chelsea?
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Quack, 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 quack. Quack. Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack. Quack, quack, quack.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Quack, 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 quack.
Yes. Yes. That was 5 seconds remaining. So Chelsea gets 5 points.
I love all of the games.
Yeah.
Like just those giant Furbies. I love those. I love them so much. And the Marvel, ooh, that was a heated debate on our Marvel Furby thing. And I still maintain that I won.
Of course.
Because I would even defend my team right now because WandaVision came out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've seen WandaVision, you know that anybody that has Wanda wins. And that's me.
Right.
Attention H2G Podcast. My name is Nick Fury. I am contacting you on behalf of S.H.I.E.L.D. You are the only team of heroes to have defeated an enemy that now plagues this Earth once again. Giant Furbies have returned to Earth and have quadrupled to size. Justo, Christy, Marvin, Chelsea, and Richie. I have some friends I need you to assemble. I'm sure you have heard of them. Assemble your individualized task forces and meet me in the helicarrier. I'm giving you all temporary Avenger Initiative task member ID codes. Technically, this makes you a part of the team. Do not let me down. I get to work.
Oh, right. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Over the last year, so many memories on the show. What would you say is either your favorite memory or maybe one of your funniest memories on the show?
That's a great question, Andrew. The funniest memory, man. I'm
here to ask the hard ones, Marvin. Come on.
I think back. That's a tough one. A lot has happened. I'd have to say it's been the game of the weeks. You know, I can't really point out just one, but just many of them where I felt a lot was rigged, Andrew. A lot was just the refs weren't making the right calls during the game.
I hear you.
And I think that's what really stuck out to me the most is the games. You know, I just saw and winning a few of them.
Of course.
you know, because you got you different champions now, but it was good to finally be crowned a little bit for a while until my belt was taken. That makes sense.
Yeah, and you did it with such confidence, man. Like you've got a really good swagger about you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It wasn't good relinquishing the belt, but
yeah,
all good things have to come to an end. But I will get it back at some point. But I think that was one of my favorite memories, Andrew. That was just being crowned. That was a crowning moment on H2G Podcast.
In terms of fondest, I would say, let's see here. My most fond memory was basically we had this thing called the Vault recently, and it was a whole. I didn't know it was coming. It was some people in the background in the podcast had kind of planned. It was basically like old photos of us to surprise us, and it's really embarrassing photos. And what were you doing there?
Well, does anybody else have anything that they'd like to submit to the vault before we close it for now? Oh my goodness.
Wait a second.
Oh my goodness.
Wait a second.
Whoa.
Wait a second.
You wear it.
Whoa.
Wait a
Look
second.
at all that liquor, Richie.
Wait a
Girl,
second.
show it off.
Oh no. Okay. I can explain. This photo, my dad was in the exact same outfit we found about 30 years ago. So like, that's why I had to, well, not 30 years. Hold on. Yeah, about 30 years ago. So those are the Air Jordan 1s. I had to find, as you can see, very, very, oh, there we go. Very, very, that's not the exact photo, but that is exactly what he looked like. I had to wear some very short shorts. It was extremely uncomfortable to walk around people with that. And then the blue t-shirt. So yeah, just kind of an homage to my dad at the period of time. But I did not know I left that on social media. So yeah, you can see my legs a little bit.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things. I would say the thing I would go with most proud in first before fond was we did an episode on Black Lives Matter, and it was right when it happened, and I'll, like, to explain the show to the audience, a lot of the show was really dictated around the idea of doing fun, uplifting news, and well, not news, but just uplifting things. So anytime we had news, it was the goal was like, you know, to be good, positive stories, but we were all on the same page when it happened, and as we just hit that year with George Floyd, right? So, and what happened with Chauvin. So anyways, having said that, that was like what I'm most proud of that we've done so far.
Thank you for tuning into this special episode of Just As Best. This topic is near and dear to our hearts. We are in pain. Tears were shed recording this episode. And while we paused to prevent that emotion from spilling into the show, it was edited only for clarity. Make no mistake about it. Our opinions are expressed in unadulterated passion. We did not write a script or prepare. We let our hearts guide us to this episode. For some of you, this is going to be unsettling and difficult to listen to. Good. We cannot sit back any longer. You cannot sit back any longer and allow this systemic racism to continue. We implore you to support the protests, support the movement, but most importantly, support each other. No one can liberate anyone else. No one can be liberated alone. Freedom requires communion. Freedom requires unity. Freedom requires action, not silence.
The next one would be the Black Lives Matter movement one that we talked about. And, you know, just to be so genuine and be open and be able to talk about different things, even though you might not want to talk about it, that was one of the most freeing podcasts that I think we've ever done, because we were all vulnerable and we all, you know, spoke, and it wasn't scripted and it wasn't, you know, malice, or we were trying to be mean or be one-sided or anything like that. It was just, you know, people speaking about how they felt, their opinions, and no matter how you were on either side, you respected their opinions and you just let them talk. So, you know, sad, mad. I've got so much emotional anxiety going on inside. It's just, you know, and it's not like this is all new. You know, this is, like Marvin said, a recurrence that just keeps happening. And, you know, I always feel sick inside, you know, when it happens. I always, you know, question, why does it keep happening? And I tell myself that, you know, it's 2020.
or I tell myself it's 2017, or I tell myself, it's 2010. And I keep telling myself these years, but it never changes.
I was so concerned with doing the Black Lives Matter episode.
Right.
Because, I come from an area and a demographic and a family, not saying that my family is this way, but family, friends, and people around me that might feel differently about what I have to say about Black Lives Matter.
Right.
And, I also feel very strongly about the racial injustice in this country and what needed to be done at the time and what still needs to happen now and going forward. And
of course,
even this slight victory in a court case is not a win to me, but I was nervous, but it needed to be done. And I was worried about how I would be portrayed. And my cast members just, they just said, be real, be as honest as you can be, and it'll work out fine. And I broke down crying, screaming a little bit. My whole heart came out. You're absolutely right on that. And, the big thing for me is just because a situation or a topic or something has multiple components, it doesn't mean that you can take the focus away and just, okay, well, I'm not comfortable about talking about this issue, so I'll focus on the fact that this is involved, or I'll focus on the fact that this is involved. How dare you? If you're not going to speak up, it's not going to get fixed. If we don't all work together to get it fixed, it's not going to get fixed. So how dare you? Not to say that any of these other components aren't problems. They are. But look what's happening in our country right now. Like Richie said, we're going to go over it, but look what's happening.
Season 1, episode 6, covering the Black Lives Matter movement. Can you talk a little bit about that, Marvin?
Yeah. It was a very pivotal time in our history. And it was really a tough show for all of us because it was so shocking what had happened, trying to put it into words, even the last few days, what's transpired. But, when I think about the Black Lives Matter episode, I just think about really just having that platform where we were able to express that. We were able to get that off our chest and how we felt. And I can't speak for Tony, but I know that both of us at that time were, very affected, just much like Justin or Richie, but culturally in a different way, for us. We really had to, be there for each other, in that moment, because, at the same time, you got to be conscious that you're talking to the audience. And that's what we kept in mind and tried to, like you said, keep light of it, of the message that we're sending, because it can be really tough in that situation to watch your words. And I know particularly for me, that was hard that day to really watch what I had to say. So I had to really use a lot of discretion. I know that show, I really, I let loose, because it was more than what it had happened. You saw a lot of people come together, and that's what we really wanted. We wanted people that we knew at the time during a certain administration,
of course,
that we needed to open our eyes to what's really going on in this country is systemic racism, and police reform. And that's something that we're still fighting for. I've been fighting for. Tony, all of us on this show have been fighting for since the Black Lives Matter episode, because it never stopped there, Andrew. It never stopped there. It never will. No. So our sole responsibility at that moment during that show was to be no holds barred we had to be completely uncensored ourselves, because it was a moment that we couldn't pass up on. You know, a lot of podcasts will continue to, you know, do their shows and, you know, stick to their format, you know, and not break that. And that's something, if you're a podcast that's getting the bottom line, okay, I get that, but emotionally I don't get it. So, you know, while we're doing this podcast together, while we did that Black Lives Matter episode, Andrew, I'm gonna end it with this. That was just our responsibility at the time to show the audience that this is what this show is about.
I want to thank you all, Justin, Tony, Richie, you all that took a chance to listen to this show today. Although everything that was said you may not be comfortable with, but to be quite frank with you, we don't care. Because we need to understand that this is a repetitive thing. This is not something that happens every other 5 years, every other 10 years. This is happening every year. And what we can do is continue to, educate people on cultural sensitivity. You know, those that are silent during times like this, we need you to get up. We need you to reach out. You have Black friends. We need you to reach out to your friends, check on them, see how they're doing. Check on your friends, because we're getting tired of this.
What do you think, like moving forward in the podcast? What do you think the fans should expect, or because they'll be itching for the new season?
Right. I mean, we did like a little strategy meeting together a while back. And one of the things that we talked about is trying to do more like extended topics, things that are bigger topics that we can't really knock out in one episode and doing. We've kind of already done it the past couple weeks with the human trafficking, wanting to do like a series where we do the different facets of a topic that's a little bit more complex, too much for one episode. So that's one thing that we've been kind of experimenting with to see how people like it. It also helps, you know, keep people tuned in because they want to see the next phase. And then also just looking at having our spotlight guests on other episodes, and they get to pick which episode they want to be on that they would enjoy participating in. And then they get to kind of join us. And sometimes it's a little bit of like a very unexpected roller coaster. Like you don't know what you're going to get, like a box of chocolates, so to speak. But it's been a lot of fun so far. Everybody's been a really great like trooper through the whole thing, and taking it really well.
Yeah. And so I'll throw this in here too. Is there like a favorite castmate that like you gel with the most, or?
It probably depends on like what the topic is.
Sure.
Not to give anything away from like this week's, I don't remember which day it is that it's for, but we had to pick teams for something. And I immediately, like once I knew what the topic was, I picked Richie because he's like a wealth of knowledge. He's like the person who, if I was going to be like on Jeopardy or something, I'd be like, yep, Richie, because he like knows the most random stuff. When it comes to like the goofy, funny stuff, Christy, 100%. Like doing that first game like really sold me. Her and I both tend to pick like really goofy games. If it's like sentimental and heartfelt, I'd say it's like more Tony. So yeah, it totally just depends on like who. We all have different strong suits, so it just kind of depends on what the topic is.
People have told me that you have a baby.
I do.
Yeah, talk about that.
About that. Well, I pushed him out of my vagina. That was real cool.
Nice.
9 pounds, 2 ounces.
Whoa.
Yikes. I know. That's what I said. I was like, cool.
That's a big baby.
It was a big baby. He's a giant.
What's his name?
Lucas. I actually dressed him up to match me, and he got sick. So he's hanging out with his dad. Hanging out and playing with his dad.
Aw. Poor little guy.
It's fine though. He'll get over it.
Yeah. So, I'm just going to throw a question in here. Who's your favorite person to interact with on the show?
Oh, that's tough.
I know. I'm here to ask the tough questions, Christy.
I'm going to say that constantly. So you just keep that answer The canned answer ready.
Absolutely.
So Richie is like one of my best friends.
Yeah.
But Tony is my brother-in-law. So I'm probably just going to say Marvin because...
Great.
Yeah, I like that he almost gets eaten by bears and
Wonderful.
pterodactyls. Yep.
I'm not going to say we're the View, but I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why the View is so popular. You have multiple different people with different backgrounds and different personalities and different thought processes. Now, they might be a little bit more agenda driven. But the fact that they have people from the left, they have people from the right, they have people that, are Black, they have people that are, Caucasian, they have people that are different nationalities. It's good to have that in there because that's exactly what we're in. We're in a melting pot in America. Right. So you have to have different things. You have Richie, you have, Christy, you have Chelsea, you have Marvin, you have myself, you have Justin. So you have a plethora of different personalities, different backgrounds, different thought processes. I mean, Richie is one smart cat. And I don't ever want to get into any kind of altercation when it comes to knowledge. When it comes to Richie, because he'll win every single time. And I love that about him. Chelsea is very intelligent as well. She's seen life for how young she is, and she carries wisdom with her. So, that speaks in volume when it comes to, having people on your podcast that carry so much dynamic characteristics and different lifestyles. And Christy, she's family. So, I mean, you can't go wrong with anything that Christy does. She's the comic relief, even though she might not want to be the comic relief, she's the comic relief. And Marvin, Marvin's the glue that everybody sticks to. Marvin could say anything and make it sound right. Okay. And he could be dead ass wrong, but he could, just the way he says it, you would just buy into it and sell it. And he doesn't say that much stuff that's, off the wall. He speaks from the heart. And, whether you're on that road or not, he'll make you believe it. So, I mean, and I'm not trying to say nothing, for everybody and leave Justin out, but I mean, Justin knows exactly who he is and what he's done, for me personally. And, I'm just glad to be a part of the H2G podcast, honest to goodness.
What do you think distinguishes the H2G podcast from other shows that are out there? Because like a lot of, there are so many podcasts, everybody's doing one, everybody's doing a show. What do you think makes you guys so special?
Well, what I would say overall is we're a variety show, and there are some, but not really that many in podcasts. And what I think is really fun and what we've kind of stuck to is having what we called an artist spotlight. So it's kind of evolved into a guest spotlight at this point. So we always bring people on. So in addition to having ourselves, we have like a mock interview like we're doing right now. Right. And we interview somebody, usually somebody really interesting. In addition to that, what makes us, I guess, stand out per se is even though we're a variety show, we do what's called a game of the week. So I think that's a little fun because instead of just a topic, we do these topics or we have a genre where we're focused on, it's more like you never know what's coming with the H2G podcast, and you kind of get to see us have fun, do silly things. And if you ever like watching people get competitive or be silly with each other and get angry, that's the H2G podcast in a nutshell when we have Game of the Week. So the Game of the Week segment is our highlight. It's what most people watch the most of our audience so far. And I would say that's what probably distinguishes us the most because there's a lot of talking podcasts as we discuss and banter and humor. But Game of the Week and like just the variety of you never know what's coming from us kind of makes that fun.
Do you prefer like more of the comedic, or do you prefer like more of like some of the serious stuff?
That's actually really hard to pick because like my personality is naturally, I think, more funny and goofy.
Sure.
And it's only been recently that I think as a person, I've become more comfortable talking about the more serious topics very openly. Sure. And that's really more so because I feel like they need to be talked about and become more commonplace so that people feel comfortable. Yeah. So for me, it's new, I think, talking about some of those more serious topics, but I think it's almost like a form of therapy for us when we do talk about it. So I think it's good to have a mix of both, but I think I lean a little bit more toward the goofy just because the laughs and the things that we come up with are really funny.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, I mean, obviously the world is a very crazy place, and it can be very hard to talk about, but I just admire so much people who are able to get up and talk and be real and be authentic, because we need more of it, and we need to have more conversations about what's going on. So that, because a lot of things are like, you're like, oh, I didn't even think that was even going on until someone spoke up and used their voice on it.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to close out and just say, I first became really passionate about this because thinking about it, I think any kind of sex related crime is the worst thing that you can really do to a person other than taking their life. I feel like that is a level of violation that it lives with you forever. So I became very passionate about wanting to help people that have dealt with this, because I think it's very hard to go through, and I can't begin to fathom what it would be like to try to move on with your life after experiencing any kind of sex crime. You are a very dominant factor in Game of the Week. You've won many, and you've got a lot going on up here. You're very smart, Richie, from just watching the podcasts like over and over.
Thank you.
What do you think makes you such a fierce competitor in Game of the Week?
Oh, okay. So fierce competitor would just be the competitiveness in itself.
Yeah.
I've always been a hyper competitive person.
Awesome.
So I think our audience can kind of notice I always try to win, even if it's something I'm like completely out of my depth. I don't like losing. But yeah, having said that, I always bring my A game in terms of like trying my best. And if I don't win, that's no problem. But Marvin is very salty, and he likes to, as any of you will get to see if you watch our games of the week, he's very salty and likes to say the show is rigged. So I think really what it comes down to is just I happen to know facts and history. So usually the games lead to that kind of stuff. If it's more silly things, I feel like I would have less of a chance. And, to my competitors out there, don't go cheating just because I said that. But yeah, we'll see. It's like, so far they've been about facts and history and, like dominant and prominent people, in general. But if it were like, for instance, a Schitt's Creek episode and like trivia on that, I'd be in trouble. So
I'd like to get your thoughts on where the podcast is going and what kind of legacy you guys are leaving. What should your audience members expect coming into a new season?
I think they can expect, a new dynamic. We have Chelsea Burns for a full season. We have someone who is one of the, I've known her since the second grade, and she is one of the greatest minds that I know. And I don't say that just lightly. I say that because she's really brings a new dynamic to this show along with all of us. And I really think that's not what was missing, but it was an addition, but even a great addition, because you have her alongside Christy, and it's just beautiful to see their chemistry, and for the audience going into this season, I'm just so excited to see, the new ideas that we have, and how more we can be more relative to our audience. That's always our goal. And I think our legacy, when it's all said and done, I honestly don't think it'd ever be done unless we all got to that point where, we are just entirely busy with life. Life makes that decision, as we all know. But I think the legacy we'll leave behind, if we all were to leave this show in X amount of years, people will have a collection of shows, of podcasts from wherever we are in life that they can go back and, on a Sunday afternoon, and they come to you and say, "Hey, did you do a podcast?" "Yeah, I did a podcast." Where can I listen to it? Where are your episodes? And you have that with a cast of friends that you got together with on Sunday, and you put something together, for the audience. And I think that's something that the audience will one day, if not now, they'll appreciate even further down the line. And not only that, I can't forget what Justin has done for this show, putting all of this together, from the production side of it, the hours, the countless hours while working, and balancing work and on something that he just is so, he would do it for free. He's doing it for free because, we have this bond amongst each other, all of us, Richie, Tony, that stretches back, and even, Christy and Chelsea now. Every Sunday we get together, even when we're not there, even if I'm not there, Andrew, we pick up right where we left off. That's what any of us, and we just, our bond gets stronger, and I think the audience sees that, and I think that the audience ultimately, Andrew, I end with this, they fall in love with that. As you and I were actors, we love sitcoms, we have our favorite actors, they always fall in love one day, if not now, with what that cast brought with them. It's timeless. So I think that with these recordings down the line, our legacy, it'll be timeless recordings.
Is there anything you want to tell the fans that will be watching this, viewers that are going to be watching either your interview or in the future?
I guess one, I've touched on it some in the podcast, but I'm actually really close to publishing my book of poetry. Ooh. It's basically stuff I've done over the last 10 years. It was something that I had never intended to publish. Mm-hmm. And I reached a point in my life where I started coining the phrase of jumping off the comfort cliff. And I've used it a lot on the podcast, and that's part of it, is putting stuff out there that's very much like intimate to me. Yeah. It's like kind of like opening up my soul to people because it's very personal. So I'm going to publish that. My best friend is illustrating it. Wow. So she's wrapping up the illustrations, and I'm doing the page layouts, and I'm like this close to submitting it to Kindle Direct Publishing, and then it will be available to everyone.
What, after year one, reflecting back, what is your legacy moving forward for the podcast? Like, where do you want to see this going? And is there anything you want to say to the viewers that'll be watching this about what they might be able to expect?
They're gonna expect a lot of the same, but a little bit more. How can I say this? Refined. Every season, we try to bring something different, and we try to bring, authenticity. Oh my goodness, I can't even say the word. What word am I trying to say? Authentic, like to be authentic and to bring up the level of the last season. So, for instance, if you watch season 1 and you watch season 2, you can tell that it escalates. It goes up a different notch. If you watch season 2 into season 3 and to season 3 to season 4, we're on a completely different mindset when it comes to season 4. So I can tell the viewers that just keep watching. We're going to bring everything that we can bring to make sure that we try to entertain whoever's watching, whoever's willing to watch, the best that we can. And we want to be the best of the best on the H2G podcast. And the legacy is, you had 4 cats who wanted to come together and just spend time together on the weekend one day, and somebody just said, let's hit record and just start talking. And now we have 2 other females that have joined those 4 cats, and it's just growing. We're talking about some serious things in life that are going on, and as long as you, the viewer, want to listen, as long as you, the viewer, are being entertained, then we're going to continue to do what it is that we do, because we have so much joy doing it. So that's the legacy, and hopefully that's what we'll continue to do.
For the viewers watching at home, is there anything you'd like to tell them right now?
Keep really? I know I'm painful to watch, but you can do it, buddy.
Well, I mean, what does it say? The people that come back and keep watching it. I mean, maybe they're not turned off by the awkwardness, but maybe you serve Christy as an example to all of us awkward people out there that we can actually make it in this world. Have you ever thought about that?
No.
You're a leading example.
No, because it's so, what's really funny?
What?
Normally after we shoot the podcast, I'm just like drenched in sweat. And that's why I'm always wearing cardigans or a dark color, because then you can't tell.
Moving forward, of course, with the H2G podcast, what can viewers out there that are going to be watching, what can they be expecting with the new season?
Okay, so for the new season, one of the things, like I kind of just hinted at a little bit, is we formally did a music artist spotlight. Right. That kind of evolved into, instead of just music, artist. And now we're working towards guests. So now you're going to see different guests. We hinted it in our last episode of the last season, where we had a mixologist come on, and it was really fun, entertaining for some of our audience, because Christy got super drunk and it was really funny to watch. But having said that, we're really trying to, as we discussed, have that variety, and not just, because again, the music and the artist spotlight really what stemmed from the Justo's Best and that radio feel. But now that we're a podcast, we're trying to, essentially evolve, have more fun, have more opportunities, allow people who wouldn't necessarily have that avenue and that platform have a chance. So that's this season's primary focus. So that's what's different for sure.
Yeah, and what I admire about the show so much is like all of you together come from such diverse backgrounds and ideologies, and you guys blend so well together. It's just awesome, and I feel honored to be interviewing all of you tonight.
Well, I appreciate you having us, man. Like I said, it's really fun. And, you already got to do Christy, as we saw.
Of course.
And that was awesome. That was awesome. And, another person who I love that's been addition is Chelsea. Chelsea's been so fun. And I really think that's helped the show. The two ladies, Chelsea and Christy, they've really kind of broadened, that dynamic, because we had four guys, and it's predominantly minorities, but nonetheless, we had four guys. But it's nice to have some women in there, because like you just said, it really does give us different perspectives, and it really does allow, hopefully to the audience as well, different voices and not just kind of the same consistency. So
is there anything you want to tell the fans, or like what's the legacy of H2G when everything shakes out?
It's a bunch of people talking about a bunch of shit, and you laugh here and there. There's been some tears.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit going on, to be honest. We had that crazy person way back in the day. We used to shit talk her all the time, actually. Not the podcast, but me and my fam used to shit talk the person, not her, the person. She was a kook, though, so.
Wow, very well said.
Thank you.
Christy, thank you so much. You've given me a lot to think about.
Answer your question.
Yeah. Is there anything as well that you want to tell the viewers while they're, in your interview?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you. I really do appreciate everyone who listens and watches us. It's been a very interesting ride, because every season for them, we change, and we change a lot of things. We went from strictly audio to video. We went from one big block to now we're doing 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, in smaller segments. We're back up on Spotify. We still have the audio only in addition to the video. So all I can say for people out there is, as you tune in, just like we've always talked about every season, just expect something new every season. We're always trying to change it up. We always welcome your feedback. You can visit us on the H2G Podcast website, h2gpodcast.com. Please let us know. We're always willing to kind of work with the format. And we want to just figure this out with the audience, because at the end of the day, we've evolved many times. We've had different guests. We've had different cast members. Alexandra was one of them as well. So having said that, we're always going to be kind of trying to tweak behind the scenes. So anytime, we have any feedback from our audience, we open it with welcome arms. So please feel free to comment. If there's something you didn't like about the show, we're always ready for that. If there's something you did, it's always a good time too. So we're trying to always change. We're trying to grow for the better. So for sure.
Justin, is there anything you want to tell the viewers back, like about like anything upcoming or what they could expect, or
I expect, I'll tell them what I expect and then what they can expect too. I expect the H2G podcast to be immortal because it is because it's recorded, it's online, we've made it available.
Internet is forever.
And I don't anticipate stopping. Tony's made a joke in the past and with a cool filter where he was like, all right, we used to do the H2G podcast. I hope we're like having to, figure out it's H2. No, I think longevity and the ideas are just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. I have to expect it because it's happened every single season. We've managed to make some kind of upgrade every single season, and it's just going to keep happening. What you can expect watching is more artists, more guests. We are switching that up. We kind of realized that we shouldn't close our artist spotlight segment to just people in art, because really art is everywhere. Talent is everywhere, and it deserves a platform to speak on. So we're going to be bringing in some great guests, get some interesting new perspectives, obviously more games. I think there may be a ghost hunt in the works, actually. I don't know, maybe. I did announce that I'm moving to Dallas, Texas on the podcast this past week. So
proud of you.
Maybe there will be some adventures in Dallas that I can, bring the podcast in on. I don't know.
Day in the life.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a lot of Dallas to see. I got a lot of Texas to see, a lot of the country to see. So
Dallas is or like Texas in general is huge.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's big. But yeah, I just growth. That's what to expect. More growth. We are now back on the audio channel. So Spotify is the big one, but you can catch us on Anchor, Google Podcast, or Pandora, iHeartRadio, all that good stuff. And then H2GPodcast.com, Facebook, and YouTube.
Awesome. And, is there, besides watching the show, is there anything else that us viewers can do to like maybe support you guys, or is there a place that we could maybe donate to the campaign?
We can make that happen. We aren't currently taking any donations, but liking and sharing, getting the word out.
Great.
I think that we would start something like that if we got into some higher levels. But what's important to know is, our name really means everything. We do this because we enjoy doing it. We've not seen the big numbers that podcasts see, yet we continue to grow. And we continue to pour ourselves into this and make the changes in our lives necessary to make the show happen. And it's because we love spending the time with each other. We love bringing the truth to the microphone. And I think we're going to continue to do that in some fashion for as long as I have a say in it.
Of course.
But definitely share and support, subscribe. Get some people to check us out. Let's say this. I will do something crazy if we get to 200 likes on the page. I'll do something crazy. We'll figure out on the show when you come back, because you're coming on the actual the podcast here soon. I'm very excited for that.
Oh, me too.
By that time, maybe we'll know what it is and we can include you in it too.
That's awesome, Tony. Thank you so much for your time tonight. And I'm just, as a fan myself, I came in a little bit later, but I just adore you guys as a group, and I'm so honored to be interviewing all of you tonight.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Awesome. Thanks, Tony.
All right. Thank you.
Wonderful, Richie. And it's been so good tonight to interview you, and I thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Next bag. Enjoy.
I have a different perspective on life tonight. This is very fun. Thank you. I hope that you've gotten an equal reaction as I can't even speak.
Me every single time I have to end the show.
Oh, so cool, Chelsea. Thank you for meeting with me tonight. I know it's a late night, but right. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you for meeting with me. It's been great getting to know you a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'll be on the show in a couple of weeks, so I'm excited to yell with you guys.
Yeah, that'll be great. Can't wait to have you on. Absolutely.
I just appreciate your time, and I've been a big fan of the podcast for a while now, and just upon meeting Justin, and I love you guys as a group, and I'm like,
thank you, brother,
that I get to interview all of you tonight.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it, man. We're looking forward to having you on the show, man. Some great questions, and man, it was really great meeting you, brother, and looking forward to having you on the show.
Well, there you have it, folks. That concludes the interviews of the 6 beautiful castmates of the H2G podcast. Be sure to tune in the future for new and exciting content in their upcoming season. My name is Andrew Kleopfer, signing off.
You see me open or close a show. Half the bloopers in this season are of me because I'm an idiot most of the time.
Well,
Justin loved it. That's a favorite.
Of course. And speaking to your fellow castmates, they've all had high remarks about you. And what I enjoy most about the show is the camaraderie between all of you. I mean, such a great group of people with such diverse backgrounds coming together and having a good time. I love it.
My mic, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Highly of me, and then I go and do that shit.
My name is Andrew Kleopfer, signing off. Have a great night. I feel like Justo is just going to come in at any moment and just like slash us, like, What
have you been talking about?
But I think this
really sound like that, but like,
yeah, this makes for great content. Off the wall, off the script. Real outro in 3, 2, 1. Well, there you have it, folks. I've interviewed the 6 castmates of the H2G podcast. Make sure to tune in for new exciting content and fun ideas that will be produced throughout the next season. Damn it.
Right.
Real outro in 3, 2, 1. Well, there you have it, folks. I've just gotten done interviewing the cast. Damn it.
I am a useless person, but...
Whoa, hey, we're not allowed to say that.
That's going to be on the serious topic now. Christy said something and we're all triggered.
Real outro in 3, 2, 1. Well, there you have it, folks. That concludes the interviews of 6 beautiful castmates of the H2G podcast. Make sure to tune in for new... I don't know. I'm not going to be able to get it done. The correct outro in 3, 2, 1. Well, there you have it, folks. That concludes the interviews of 6 beautiful castmates of the H2G podcast. Make sure to tune in the future for new exciting content in the upcoming season.
You had it. No, you're gonna do good.
Final outro in 3, 2, 1.